I'll be sharing a little bit about myself, what I've been doing at Grand Vision, what Grand Vision is, and how we're able to create more than 20 white label journeys. I'll also explain what we mean with white label journeys, and roll it out really smoothly and frictionless. As I think we all know, it can be quite of a pickle to add value. Feel free to ask questions in between. I guess just use the chat. If someone can help me that I need to pause during my conversation, as I don't always see if someone has a question. Yeah, let's make it a little bit interactive where possible. I'm Viresh. My context and background is I lead the global CRM initiative from Grand Vision. I really enjoy to do stuff, create stuff, add value, but also be pragmatic about it, think about it. And I find that in the midst of all of that, it sits with impact. And that's what drives me from a complete background overview. Let's go to the more fun bit. Grand Vision. Grand Vision is a global retailer, and we're kind of big. We have a footprint from US to APAC and everything in between. We have over 40 countries spanning more than 4 continents. We have more than 30 retail banners, over 30,000 people working for the group. So that means nice and big, but also there's a lot of work to be done. You might think, Grand Vision, I've never heard about you. Hopefully some of the brands that are part of the group, perhaps the more famous ones like Ray-Ban and Oakley, but also depending per country where you're in, we have a localized brand that's part of the group. So we very much have a full swing going on there. And let's zoom into the actual fun bit. What have we been doing with Marketing Cloud? And as you can imagine, all of the context that we have, it's big. So it also means the opportunity is big, but also the challenges are big. So from day 0, we said, hey, this needs to be fully incorporated with the end users. The end users are the local marketeers. So they need to be feeling that it's Grand Vision. And that's not Salesforce. So we call our stack Grand Vision Marketing Cloud. A little bit of a gimmick, but it definitely helps with the enablement of our end users. So what is our footprint that we have in Salesforce Marketing Cloud? Pretty complex, pretty big. We have over 30 business units. In those 30 business units, we have 26 brands that are live, and just everyday automated journeys are going out, campaigns, whatnot, complexity. We have 4 brands that are ready to deploy. There are some business decisions why we haven't put it live yet. Volume-wise, we do over 200 million emails every year. We send out more than 50 million SMSs per year. Because we have the footprint over 4 continents, it also means we need to deliver support following the sun. The moment I go to sleep, there's still someone that might be using the application. And it might mean that, hey, if something goes down or if something breaks, we need to be able to deliver the support. Cannot be dependent on one person if something doesn't work that we need to wait for too long of a time. Then it's wider than just the Salesforce Marketing Cloud footprint that we have. We also have Service Cloud. So we've integrated the Salesforce systems with it. We're utilizing WhatsApp. We're utilizing SMS. We have the strategy that we want to become more and more relevant. So personalization is very much a topic that we're on. Using Advertising Studio in various markets and all of the other studios. So it's a nice complex setup. What's a bit different than what you usually see is that we've built our own CDP. We've had the conversation on should we go for the Salesforce CDP. From the RFP, we see that the capabilities the Salesforce CDP could deliver were not up to par. Same with other off-the-shelf. So we went for an approach to build it ourselves. And we did it in 3 months. And that's running smoothly. The CDP is very much the master brain managing the decisions in everything. let's zoom into the actual more fun bit. Before sharing into the journeys and how we go there, we have quite some complexity. So in the middle part, we have the center of excellence, and the center of excellence consists of two components. It's me and two other people managing this. And then around us, we have a implementation and support team, which is about 25 people working around the clock and sitting in various teams. We build them in squads as we work agile. And the challenge that we have is our customers are the internal markets, and per market, it can be a different team size. Certain markets are very mature and they have 10, 15 people sitting in their CRM team. And some teams are just a 1 or 2 person army. On the other side, what also brings complexity is the innovation piece that we strive for, incremental value that we want to increase. Making sure we build standardization, because to do personalization and automation, we first need to make sure everything is standardized, which can be a pickle the moment you work with 25 markets simultaneously. And all of the markets want something, well, they roughly want the same thing, but they just want it a little bit different. We've built a culture of experimentation, and part of the culture also sits, hey, just try stuff out, have a hypothesis, learn from it. It's okay if things don't go as we predicted, but at least we learn from it, doing stuff. So let's zoom a little bit more around what complexity sits with all of this. So the fundamental challenge we have is that our underlying landscape, it's all separate entities, and all those separate entities have their own ERP, and they have their own POS system, and they have their own non-standard application landscape. And if we move towards commerce, the SKU landscape is also not standardized from a product point of view. Then looking into data quality, it's not great, varying per market with whether that's being completeness or just overall complexity of the data quality. And when talking towards the local markets, we also see that the local teams are extremely busy. Their bandwidth is filled to the max. So that means high exposure towards those teams the moment we have a big change process coming up or a big change project. Then on the other side, on the right side, we have the business reality, all elements that are variables, adding more complexity towards what we're building. And what is it we're actually building? We're building a centralized space where we can have scalability and standardization. So in our scalability, we need to monitor for both versions. So how do we actually do it? Creating and rolling out a journey and making it super, super fast, because it's not valuable for us if it takes months and months to create a journey. In other complexity, we've distilled it down and we say, hey, there's 2 bits that we truly, truly focus on to build that efficiency. On the one side, it's content creation and the efficiency part of it. And on the other side, it's knowledge and insight. And it's a continuous loop. The moment we have the one side, we're looking into what's going on the other side and we bring it back. I'm going to dive into what does that mean for how do we actually do that. So for content creation, we see it takes really a lot of time to create content. Market A can have a certain type of template, which market B doesn't want to use, and market C also wants to have their own template times 25. So that's a lot of templates to manage, and that's not great. So we said, you know what? We are the center of excellence. Let's make sure that we actually drive the standardization here. So we have built a full library of templates for all of the journeys that we create, so that the local markets can just drag and drop it from the library that we expose to them. It also means that those templates are tested, validated, they're mobile, they're responsive. Outlook, which is always breaking in various versions, we've optimized it so you don't have to do that as a local market. We use the best practice strategy to make sure that we learn from, okay, what's going on in market A? How can market B learn from it? We have a monthly element where we bring the entire CRM team globally together and share the insights that's been going on and make sure that people learn from each other. Naming convention, which can be a real pain. How do you make sure you build a proper standardized version from it? And I have to say, we also had our learning curve. We are now on our third, and I want to say last, but our third version iteration of the naming convention. The first two that we made, we learned over time that it wasn't the best version that we've created. I'm going to show our naming convention in one of the following slides, where I'll explain why it's so important. We also learned in content creation that sometimes the out-of-the-box functionality from Salesforce, it can be quite challenging. Take, for example, the channel SMS, a fantastic channel. And because we use Salesforce Marketing Cloud, it enabled us to test and try with the channel, which we didn't use before, and understand, hey, what's the impact we can drive with it? And it's a big impact. However, the out-of-the-box functionality to send SMSs with Marketing Cloud, it's kind of complex. So depending on the local market, depending on the skills, depending if they can read or write code, they could or could not use it. So we said, hey, we validated it with the out-of-the-box functionality, and that's great. We see that this channel is adding value for us. So in this example, we've actually built our own custom SMS solution, custom SMS interface, which also was two-folded. One, the cost component. With Salesforce, you pay a healthy fee, let's call it like that, for this specific channel. And by going with a direct vendor and with our own application, we saved an enormous amount of money. Again, right, we're doing quite a lot of volume on all of our channels. So we need to make sure that we are cost efficient, thinking about what does a message cost to send, what's the impact of it, and how can we manage it. We have quite a unique setup in how our Marketing Cloud runs. And given that it's 2023, before all of this movement in ChatGPT and generative large learning models, we were already quite invested in algorithms, AIs, making our own versions. And with this space changing, we very much see that there's a solution there for challenges that we have. Because everything that I just described, it very much zooms in on the technical setup of a journey. Because in our model, from a center of excellence point of view, we are responsible for the technical bits and pieces. We're not responsible for the content that gets made in a journey. I'll show in one of the next slides how complex our journeys can be. But what we saw is that our local markets, they sometimes takes months and months to create basic content for an email, for an SMS, just because they're very busy with everything that they're doing. So I'll share how we've been using that. And we've also have a separate session in 2 weeks from now, where I'll actually show more about how we use our own SFMC GPT app. Then the other side on scalability, it's about the knowledge and insight, because the moment we have a journey running, it's about that circle that you want to make. The moment we deliver a journey, it also means we need to deliver documentation. And just like every other team, we do not like documentation, but it's definitely part of what needs to be delivered. The welcome page seems like a bit of a weird one. I'll show that right after this one, why we have that in the experience of logging in as an end user in Marketing Cloud. Given that we have a large volume in our databases, we have control groups in all of our journeys, to make sure we can always do an A/B test or multivariate test and understand, hey, what's the optimization we can do for this brand in this country. Forever loving Salesforce Marketing Cloud, but it also comes with its pitfalls. When something breaks and you need to log in and go into the API to understand all of the metadata, it's not great to do troubleshooting. So we've built our own, call it mini apps that are part of every journey, which we've standardized, that does tracking of all of the metadata needed for the basic metrics, just in case we want to figure out, hey, what happened with this person during this step in the journey. the insights that we use, the data that we have, we combine it both in the tracking data from Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and we also use Power BI to make more complex insights and KPIs and understand what we can build on it. So one of the biggest things that we see is we build a lot of technical greatness. However, because we have so much volume and so much value that we're adding every 2 weeks, it's kind of difficult to make sure all of our local markets and all of the stakeholders and all of the end users sees every little piece that we do. So taking that with, okay, but how does support helps? Because I got bombarded by email, Teams conversations, all sorts of channels of people like, hey, this is not great, or I don't understand how this is going. And so we've introduced a support system on how can you raise a ticket and how can we then deliver that and get a full overview on that, because we want to make sure there's a process for it. So this page that you're looking into, that's actually the first page that you see the moment you log in into the Grand Vision Marketing Cloud environment. The reason for that is we want to make sure there's engagement with our end users across the globe. The box you see, the first bit, that's the box where we change it based on the seasonality, if there's anything relevant going on, if there's something funny going on with the Happy New Year, or if there's a football game going on and it's a big one, we put it in. But also if there's a big development, we can put it in. We have a connection towards Trailhead, so we make sure we nudge our end users to go do a training every now and then, make sure to refresh what it is they're knowing. And we have, call it nuggets of information about tips on how they can improve channel ABC. So all of the lessons we see that is a continuous handout of knowledge. Then we also have a standard overview on how to raise support and a ticket, and a link towards our documentation, so that's always findable. So it becomes very much part of the norm. And hey, when we roll out a journey, it's not about, hey, we need to call every CRM manager, every CRM expert, but we publish it on this initial page that it's immediately visible for all of our users across the globe, and they can start using it then. That's interesting. Taking a look into one of our journeys, and this is one of the most, I understand that it's a lot of information that you'll be seeing. This is a relatively simple journey for us. It's the onboarding journey. And what we did before we started running into, okay, what are the journeys we needed to build? We did a complete exercise on what's the value and the entire axis of the life cycle of a customer. Based on that, we've built standardized journeys, and per journey, we can say, hey, this component is not relevant for this market, so we don't enable it. Or we say, hey, this component is very much relevant, we do enable it. And this is a blueprint. It takes us about an hour or so to configure this from a technical point of view. But then is where the challenge starts, right? Because you'll see after the various decision splits and the calculations being done, it's a lot of channels and a lot of touch points which need local content. So the moment we start with a journey, it used to be that it's quite a lot of effort for the local market to keep up with all of the volume of quality content that they needed to prepare and get into the application. What we also say per white label, and we have quite a few, is that all of these steps, we can configure them as needed for the local market. So it's not, it doesn't have to be this complex. We can also do a more simplified version, which comes back towards the challenge that I shared about earlier about, hey, where do we need to tailor for? It's not just a center of excellence to tailor for both the markets just starting with CRM and also the more advanced, more complex markets that want to do more. The next slide. So with all of these journeys, all of this, what's going on, we want to make sure our data and analytics and insights are on par, because it's very much a continuous growing path. To do that, we need to be consistent with our naming convention. So what we've done is built out a naming convention structure where all of the bits and pieces are just siloed dropdowns. There's no longer open input. We invite our end users to what the fields are that are absolutely mandatory to fill in. And the mandatory fields for us, they enable us for our most important reports and dashboards to understand, hey, where's the traffic coming from? What are they doing? What's the value out of it? So we can put it in stage. Then we have two categories that we recommend to fill in, and some other naming convention bits and pieces, which are very much valuable, but optional for you as a local market to decide whether you want to fill it in or not. This is a screenshot from one of our reports. MPS as a retailer, it's quite a big of a component for us to keep track on it. We've done a very complex exercise to make sure we can measure everything, make sure the data quality is on par. We go even further. The moment we are out of the certain bandwidth that we want to be in, there's a proactive communication sent towards the relevant stakeholders like, hey, you're getting in towards the danger zone. Please have attention for this. We're very much in a transformation on making sure our end customer stand central. So that's where all of the other steps on the journey and making sure all of the naming convention sits in, hits it towards the actual bit where the value is being created, the insights that we drive with the impact that we make. With the whole wave of ChatGPT, BART, you name it, we realized that one of our biggest hurdles in the last period was, hey, we've grown in how can we make a new white label journey. If a local marketeer comes to us or one of the markets like, hey, I have a really nice idea. And if we believe in it and we see the value, it's really relatively easy for us to make the components for the technical bit of a journey. However, I don't speak French or German or Spanish for that case, or Malay. So it's kind of difficult for us from a central excellence point of view to also deliver the journeys with the actual content needed. And this is where ChatGPT and other generative large learning models kick in, because they're really good in doing all of this. They also come with some challenges. When I realized the power of this, I call up my partners like, hey, this is an idea we have. Can you make it happen? And they made it happen. On the leadership of Wise Analytics, I really got to give a shout out to my partners here. Without them, we would not be able to build this. They really took the lead, created this application, which then natively integrates within Marketing Cloud. And what we first did is looking into, okay, what are the biggest hurdles that we have in terms of content creation and how much time is being used for that? And then next to that, how much money is being spent on that? And we saw that just creating the subject line and pre-header fitting to the max amount of characters that's recommended for the channel email, there's really a lot of time being spent on it. So we were like, that needs to be a sub-module. Part of creation needs to be super easy. Same with creating the baseline of the email content, just the text, not the visuals. That's a whole different hurdle. And the same with the channels SMS and WhatsApp. So small teaser for the next session. What you're seeing now is the application in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, where it's a quick recording of, hey, pick a brand, the language that you're creating for, the type of content that you want to make. And if you want an influencing principle, that's part of it. The box below it that shares, hey, what is the call it keyword or the purpose of this type of subject line that you're making. And based on that, we've really made it simple for our internal customers to not have to worry about, hey, but how should the query look like? is very much tailored towards the world of the email marketeer in this case. And we invite them to only think about the things they need to think about, and the rest of the magic sauce, the application takes care of it. And you see it in just a couple of seconds, it creates variations. And what you also say, hey, these are variations, it's still up to you as a human to ensure this is part of what you want to use before it's part of the, email and the subject line being created. Give me 1 minute, it's my robot started to vacuum. I'm back. So yeah. What are some of the results we've been getting? So we see that there's a lot of results coming in. There's a lot of value created out of all of this. The biggest one is we can roll out super easy. Oh, lost my screen there. We can deliver 20-25 journeys for a new market within 2 weeks. It comes with the side note, if the data is available, if that configuration has been made and the content has been made. We now have a structured data set with a global naming convention on it. So all of that means that the global setup of this also enables us to make automated reports to make global comparisons. So we're very much in control of what's going on. We can actually compare apples with apples across markets. If there's a new idea, we can roll it out super quickly. A new journey can be set up if you really believe in it in just a day. With the baseline content, make it localized with these solutions we have. We have way better insights with actual scientific proof on, hey, it's not just an idea that someone has, but we actually have the data backing behind of it. And it's a lot easier for us now to monitor and support what's going on. And what we also see is if there's a new joiner in one of the local teams, the length of the learning curve of Marketing Cloud, because let's face it, Marketing Cloud can be quite challenging now and then to learn from it. We shorten that cycle. So overall, it comes down towards more efficiency, which leads to more content, which leads to more better decisions. With all of those decisions, they lead towards more insights, and more insights leads towards more efficiency, and the circle goes round and round. So what's the future looking like? A little bit of what we're thinking in our roadmap for the foreseeable period. So we've created the SFMC GPT version, very much tailored around the challenges we've had just in business as usual. We are now working on some other business components on the sales side, on the service side, but also on the data and insights part. And everything is tailored around how do we create more efficiency? How do we create more content? How do we make better decisions? How do we gain better insights? I really have to say to this, like I can come up with a longer term strategy and I roughly have ideas how to do it, but I have to hand it towards my partners. Wise Analytics, they're brilliant minds in making their own LLMs for us. So we have our own Grand Vision LLM, mitigating the challenges that comes with public LLMs. So we're not building on top of that. We've actually mitigated all of that. So this is a bit of the what's looking like for the future. To make it even faster. Thank you for listening. Does anyone has questions or feedback?
Hey, thanks, Manish. That was a really great session. We just have a question, so can we have an access of this ChatGPT app?
Sorry?
Can we have an access of this app that what you demonstrated, the ChatGPT one for generating free header and all the subject lines?
Yeah, so I'm not allowed to give that in this session. Okay. I will do 2 sessions about that. So on the help remind me. I think it's the 8th of June. We have a session in this user group, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's where I'll give just an actual demo of the app, and it's going to be more hands-in and actual demo. It's not going to be slides, and I'll also share more about the tech behind it. And I'll also do a demo, wider one on the 14th of June. So if you go for one of our partners, I think it's I've put it up somewhere in the slides where all of the other events are. I mean, if you're interested, just look me up on LinkedIn. I usually publish all of the events that I'm doing there and all of the demos. So if you follow me there, it's a good way to get your hands on it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paresh. This was really great session. So I learned something. Personally learned something on this session as well. Audience, any questions to Viresh? Okay, that stayed silent means no questions, I think. Thank you so much, Paresh, for joining the session and then have a great valuable insights on this quick level journeys. Thank you so much once again. And we'll catch up again on June 9th.
I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good